nonprofit corporation, and you're going to have some members who know how to run a government operation and create government jobs. Of course, and kill jobs in the private sector, but creating government jobs. And that's down here. You've got the Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Homeland Security, Attorney General. We're talking real job creators here, and others who will be on that board. So people can feel better about that. If you don't think we have enough government control of things, well, this bill, you're going to love it. More government control, more government corporations, because the thing that many missed, and it jumped out at me as I sat back there and the president spoke, when he says, we want to work side by side with business. For people who have ears and hear, that means this president wants to be your business partner. Well, that scares some folks. And that's why I think you saw the market go down the next day. People who understand how real jobs in the real world are created know that the government being partners with people trying to generate jobs is a job killer. We don't need a government to be partners side by side working with business. The government, as designed by the founders and as we're supposed to be carrying out, is supposed to be a referee to make sure people play fair. And if the government had made sure people were playing fair instead of dictating every detail of their existence, then they would have noticed that Bernie Madoff was cheating people. But the government, our bureaucracy was too concerned with dictating how people live, what they forgot about their job as referee. And I've highlighted so much stuff as I went through the night. I won't bore you with all of this, Mr. Speaker. Let's see, public safety, roaming, priority access. FCC is going to get to report on the efficient use of public safety spectrum. There's all kinds of, extension of extended benefit provisions. Good stuff there. Now, I've been a fan of retraining people when there are jobs in one sector and people have lost jobs in another and there are no jobs with the training they have. That's a good idea. It's better money than just throwing out unemployment reimbursement if you can train people to have a real job. This bill spends billions of dollars. We've got the Reemployment Now program. That's a new federal bureaucracy, a new federal program. We got the state plan at page 98. We got the Bridge to Work program at 99. We're going to retrain people for jobs. We don't have jobs that they can fill, but we're going to spend a lot of time training them for jobs that don't exist. Wouldn't we be better off encouraging the real job creators, the small business folks, into creating jobs and then train them for that? But no, we're going to suck more capital out of the financial community into the government so we can train people, retrain people for jobs that don't exist. Then we have the page 106, the short-time compensation program, and its purposes means short-term compensation program means a program under which participation of employers, voluntary, and employer reduces the number of hours worked by employees in lieu of layoffs. Such employees whose work weeks have been reduced by at least 10% are then eligible for unemployment compensation. You lose 10% of your work time, guess what? We're now opening up a new avenue for unemployment compensation. 10% is all it takes of the reduced. Employers, I've talked to so many saying, I'm asking my employees, I don't want to fire anybody. I'm asking them to hang on. We're all reducing what we're taking in, and we're going to try to get through this without firing anybody. But, everybody's had to take a cut. Well, this will make them eligible for unemployment compensation, which raises their unemployment insurance rates they have to pay, which means they're going to have to lay off somebody in order to pay the additional unemployment insurance rates. Of course, then you've got temporary financing of short-term compensation agreements at page 109. We got grants. We've got all kinds of subsidized employment for unemployment, low-income adults. Instead of sucking all this capital out of the private sector, it seemed like we would want to help create more jobs. Well, if you're not satisfied with all the jobs that are created by the new government programs, new government agencies, wonderful that we've got something better than Fannie and Freddie for infrastructure financing. That's great. But I understand that lawsuit filing is down significantly around the country. Our Constitution tells you, and we know in our hearts, that it's wrong to discriminate against people based on race, creed, color, national origin, gender. Those things make sense. We shouldn't discriminate. And those are protected classes. We've also added, no matter what your sexual preference, your sexual orientation, no matter what you're oriented toward sexually, because the Democratic majority would not allow us to define sexual orientation to exclude illegal activity. We know sexual orientation is a protected class now. We're adding in this bill a new protected class called unemployed. Title on page 129, Prohibition of Discrimination in Employment of the basis of an individual's status as unemployed. And it says right here in the findings that we find that denial of employment opportunities to individuals because of their status as unemployed is discriminatory and burdens commerce. So it goes on and explains this in preceding pages. So the good news is if you're unemployed and you go to apply for a job and you're not hired for that job, see a lawyer. You may be able to file a claim because you got discriminated against because you were unemployed. Now, some would point out legitimately that will discourage people from doing interviews of people unemployed, because if they do, they've got a claim, or may have a claim to make against the employer for discrimination based on the fact that they were unemployed. So I think this will help lawyers who are not having enough work, because it can open the door. We heard from our friends across the aisle in the preceding hour, 14 million people out of work. That's 14 million potential new clients that could go hire a lawyer and file a claim because they didn't get hired even though they were unemployed. And we've heard the president demonizing billionaires and millionaires. And, why are the Republicans so strong on trying to bail out their rich friends? Well, what we've learned here in this town in recent years is that if the very wealthy don't mind being called names, they will be enriched and even engorged. For example, we know that Wall Street executives have been called fat cats by this administration and demonized, yet the little secret behind the scenes joke is, don't mind being called names. This administration has brought more profit to Wall Street than Goldman Sachs has ever seen in their history. So, and Wall Street executives and their families gave to President Obama 4-1 over John McCain. So, of course, they got a good little deal going there. And also demonize oil and gas industry, even though, you love British Petroleum because they were going to endorse the cap and trade bill. And you demonize them, and then you stick provisions in this bill that have no effect on the big major oil companies. They will only affect, these provisions at the back at page 151, 2, and 3, they will not affect the big majors like British Petroleum, except that because they will destroy the ability of independent producers that produce much or maybe most of the oil and gas in the continental U.S., it'll put them out of business. It will dry up